All right, good evening. Welcome to the January 25th meeting of the Berlin Board of Education. We are going to start our meeting with a call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin our meeting, if we could take a moment of silence for Fred Russo. He was a science teacher for many years at Berlin High School, and he recently passed. Thank you. So we are going to move into the first agenda item, new business. We have policy revision. Policy review and revision. It's a second reading and adoption. So we have a second reading of the revised policy 9085. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties with my iPad.
It's here too.
Okay. It's just not loading on my iPad. All right, so revisions have been made to this policy to reflect action taken by the board at its meeting December 14th, 2020, to have one regular meeting per month, generally on the second Monday of each month, beginning in February 2021, so starting next month. The first reading took place at the January 11th board meeting. So we need a motion, and then once that's seconded, we can have a discussion and then vote.
I move that the board adopt the revised policy 9085 as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? So the motion was made by Adam, seconded by Mark. No discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the vote carries 8-0. All right, thank you. I have one right here. All right, we're going to move to item number 3, discussion of the superintendent's proposed budget for 2021-2022. So we as a board have spent a significant amount of time going through this budget. We had 2 meetings at the beginning of the month where the superintendent presented, and then we had the principals, administration, special education present the budget to us. So at this point, I am going to, I've actually reached out to the board at that meeting, at that last meeting, and I said, if there's any questions, please reach out to me. I followed up with an email. I did get a few questions. Those were addressed. They were minor. So since I haven't heard from anyone, I don't believe that we have any major concerns to address tonight. I believe the budget is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot added. You know, I want to thank the superintendent for making a very fiscally responsible budget during this difficult time that our community is about to face. But at this point, Brian, I'll turn it over to you if you have anything to say.
I hope that after the budget presentations by all the staff and my presentation, that when you look at the budget and where we are, that we did do our best to look at each line item in the summary sheet, and that we're doing everything we can to maintain staff and programs at this point. The impact to the budget and cuts to the budget, you know, would definitely look not to cut staff. There's just not that much else to cut if we don't cut staff and programs. What I mean by cutting staff and programs, I said the other night, it could be increasing class sizes. It could be the elimination of some electives at the high school. Obviously, we do have requirements that we have to maintain both at the high school in terms of graduation requirements, as well as you know, statutory requirements for special education. So taking all that into account when looking at the budget, I think that the stacked bar graph gives the best depiction of that.
So we are coming in with a 4.56% increase. At this point, I'm going to open it up to the board to see if there's any thoughts, feedback, discussion to be had.
Julie, quick question. Just want to make sure for summer school, I know that we had a lot of expenses this past summer, PPE and everything else. Going forward for next year's summer school, we feel comfortable with the amount of funding for personnel as well as transportation, given all the changes that have occurred over the last year.
We feel comfortable in the sense that when we prepared the budget, we didn't take into account the need for COVID and the PPE. If there is still a need to have all that, to the same degree that we had last year, we would have to go into those choice funds as we talked about, that contingency money where we gave the 4 options, because we will not have the extra, 40 to 50,000 that it took this year to make that happen in summer school.
Well, I think this just goes to show how thorough the presentations were at the beginning of the month by both the superintendent and his staff. And administrators, I do want to thank you for putting together what you did and presenting how you presented, because clearly everyone, has been given the resources. People took the time to go through it, and it doesn't seem like there's an overwhelming amount of questions or comments. And thank you to the board for taking the time and really going through this prior to our meeting.
Just another comment. I know that when you look at the budget, it's heavily dependent on, and all the funding, the majority of the funding is going to personnel. I know that equipment has been difficult for us over the years, capital and equipment. I want to thank the administration for the work you've done with technology over, the past several years. And I'm going to go back to our discussion with regard to COVID and having students being one-to-one with technology. If not for the budgeting and acquisitions that have been made over the last several years, there's no way we would have been able to have any distance learning to the capacity that we have right now. And I know it's difficult when you're dealing with a fixed budget, and we don't receive a lot of funds for equipment and technology, but the work you've done in a short period of time is certainly commendable. And I know that we're going to be looking for additional upgrades for Chromebooks. There's technology with security. I think that we're doing a pretty darn good job with what's been provided. And if you look at the overall budget, we're not really, other than adding a few paras, we're not adding personnel. A lot of line items are flat. Utilities are flat. Contract services are going up for the services that we are providing, but quite frankly, I think that we do that in a very efficient manner. Benefits hopefully might be able to come down a little bit, but that's really a directive from the town. But I mean, based on what we've seen, what's been presented, and historically what we've seen from Brian, from the administration, has been a fairly tight budget, and especially coming out of COVID in a very difficult time right now. 4.5% is a big amount, and I'm not going to say that it's not. But given the money that's going to the personnel, to the people, the staff, for the amount of work that we do with our special education programs in the district versus sending out, I'm really proud of all the work that's been done and what you've presented. So from my personal standpoint, I am comfortable with what's been presented. I want to thank the administrators, principals, everyone that's worked on this for the presentations that have been provided. I think it's answered a lot of the questions that we had previously, questions that we've had in previous years. I know we're very comfortable now with the way things are trending. Really, I don't have any issue with what's being presented.
Thank you, Adam.
I'll just, if you don't mind, just chime in a little bit on that. Where the superintendent did add staff and positions, it's important to note that That's the student support for students that may have social and other needs and be what we would consider at risk or challenged. And providing that support is essential to keeping them in school, in the program, and hopefully succeeding. So I applaud the balance and act that the superintendent and the administrators went through with looking at equipment and looking at other things that the resources could go towards. And it shows a commitment to the students and the learning when what we do propose is an increase to staff that will help students that may be more at risk. So I appreciate those efforts.
Yes, this wasn't an easy job. I know putting together the budget in fiscally challenging times is very difficult, so thank you for that. If there's nothing else, we have one more item on the agenda, so we'll move to item 4. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, vote carries 8-0. The Board of Education meeting is adjourned.